Hello everyone, my name is Laura Liz Bryan and welcome to Situation Critical, the Brain Development Podcast. Today we are going to discuss what critical periods are, what specifically the language critical period is concerning wild children, what brain plasticity is, and how it helps with brain development. First things first, what is a critical period? A critical period is a time in brain development where a child's brain is super sensitive to everything happening around them and certain aspects of development form. We are going to talk about 3 of the most important ones today. First up is the visual critical period. From birth to 8 months of life, an infant's vision is rapidly developing with depth cues from one eye and both eyes. If not developed properly or vision problems are not corrected in time, it can lead to severe vision problems and the child will not be able to explore their environment properly. Next is the social critical period. This encompasses how a child's attachment to a parent or caregiver affects how the child reacts in social situations and relationships later in life. A child who is not securely attached may be extremely anxious in a relationship or may be apathetic towards it. Social underdevelopment can also lead to the stunted cognitive growth of a child, which includes underperforming in school and not hitting learning milestones at the correct time. Finally, we are going to discuss in depth the language critical period. From birth to 5 years old, this is the ideal place to learn a language because the areas of the brain linked to language are actively developing. Children who miss this period, dubbed wild children, never truly become fluent in a language. A frightening example of this from 1970 is in the form of Jeannie and not the Robin Williams kind. Jeannie was locked in a room, strapped to a chair, and neglected by her father for 13 years, only feeding her without speaking. Once she was rescued, a team of linguists and psychologists taught her English. They were successful, but her speech level never went past that of a toddler, only uttering few-word sentences with no real grammar to it. While this does show evidence of a language critical period, this does not outright prove it. Jeannie was severely abused before her rescue, playing a large factor in her development. Her only social interaction was her father, as previously mentioned. She may see people speaking to her as something to be punished instead of somebody welcoming her. Her social interactions could have stunted her cognitive growth as well. In communist-controlled Romania during the Cold War, orphanages told their employees to only feed the children and do not interact beyond that. The children who endured that for over 6 months had intellectual problems and poor social development after adoption, compared to the children in that same orphanage under 6 months who developed normally. While this is terrible, Jeannie's treatment lasted for 13 years, which could have a lasting impact on her cognitive and social skills. Even though the case of Jeannie is thankfully rare, her case does show evidence of a language critical period, but does not say for certain that it exists. Brain plasticity also plays a factor in critical periods of development. It is defined as the ability of the brain to be altered through experiences. If you don't use it, lose it is its philosophy. One aspect is experience expectant plasticity. Think of the brain as plastic. The plastic that is used more will be strengthened while the plastic that is not used over time breaks down and disappears. A real-world example of this is learning a new skill as an adult versus learning it as a kid. It's a lot easier to learn something new as a kid. This plasticity also helps in brain damage recovery. Plastic from the damaged area will be replaced with plastic from other areas, recovery being best in younger people with developing brains. Unfortunately, if unused plastic is thrown out, it's gone forever and is never coming back. A callback to the visual critical period, people who have limited to no vision in one eye will have that plastic thrown out and will have some serious vision problems if the eye gets its vision back too late. Another type of plasticity is experience-dependent plasticity. Plastic in this dimension is strengthened constantly due to experience. A real-world application will be playing an instrument like a tuba for a really long time. More plastic is present in the areas of the brain that control lip movement compared to those that do not. The stimulation with playing it adds more plastic to these areas to help the lips move more complexly given the circumstances. Both of these areas combined could explain why learning to play an instrument is much easier for a child than it is for an adult. Playing the piano or a guitar requires complex movements in the fingers, moving them in specific positions and moving them quickly. A child who has been in lessons since they were young has added more plastic to their brain in the areas of finger movement that are constantly being strengthened because of those lessons. While an adult can learn to play an instrument, the time frame is much longer. The brain stops developing around 25 years old. Active development provides the brain a chance to encode these skills permanently. A fully developed brain would take years to strengthen already developed areas. Thank you to everyone for listening. Today's podcast was sponsored by my human development class, which was super fun. I wish we could have spent more time together during this crazy time. See you later.